All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's webinar, Together on the Learning to Drive Journey. Hope you're all happy. Good evening. Got a lot of good evenings tonight. Very kind. So, as we're waiting for more people to join, I'll just give you a little rundown of what's going on today. We're going to give you lots of top tips and guidance for your learning journey. We'll look at the most dangerous types of road, how many hours of driving lessons you should have, what to look out for when getting your first car, and also how to look after it. Lots of good stuff, really, really good informative stuff you'll wish you would have known back when, and you'll be so glad you've learned tonight. There'll be Q&As, live polls, there'll be Q&A at the end as well, so you can ask any question you want to all the experts here in the panel today. I'm your host, Keenan Lloyd Adams. Thank you so much for coming. We're just going to wait for a bit in the waiting room as we have more people joining. As we wait, would you like a did you know fact? Did you know that the world's first speeding ticket was given to a UK driver travelling at, are you ready for this, at 8 miles per hour? Yep, in 1896, the speed limit in Britain was 2 miles per hour. Back when cars were incredibly slow, apparently. Well, he was travelling 8 miles per hour, a madman. A policeman chased him for 5 miles on his bicycle. And he eventually caught up to him and he was fined. Are you ready for this? He was fined 1 shilling. 1 shilling. Today, you'll be fined £100 and you'll have 3 points on your license. Or you can take the speed awareness course, but it'll still be £100, give or take. But yeah, can you imagine that? 8 miles per hour? I feel like we can run faster than that, can't we? Can't we just chase him? Crazy stuff. For people who've just joined, welcome to the webinar, the Together on the Learning to Drive Journey webinar. I've got lots of top tips and guidance for you today. Stuff you'll be so glad that you know now. If it's at the start, if you're halfway through, if you're at the end, if you've passed your driving test, fair play for being here. You'll still get a lot of cool tips that you definitely should know on your journey. We'll learn about how many driving lessons you should have, the Euro NCAP rating system. What's that about? Should you know about it? Yeah, you should. Dangerous roads as well, like what the most dangerous type of road to drive is. So yeah, lots of cool stuff. Welcome. Whilst we're all waiting in the waiting room, I've got another did you know fact. Did you know that 1 in 4 UK drivers don't know how to open their car bonnet? Yep, that's 1 in 4. Do you know how to open your car bonnet or a car bonnet? Usually it's you have to open your driver's door and there's a little lever at the bottom somewhere, usually. But yeah, 1 in 4 don't know how to do it, which is crazy because you need to know how to open your bonnet to fill in the screen wash if you've done your show me tell me questions, or to check your oils, your brake fluids, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, 1 in 4 don't. Hopefully at the end of this video, at the end of this webinar, you will know how to open your car bonnet. I don't even know if we're teaching people that today because it seems to be something you just would be taught on your driving lessons. Crazy. For the people that have just joined, welcome to the webinar today, the Together on the Learning to Drive Journey. Lots of top tips and guidance for you. You'll be so glad you've joined tonight. I'm your host, Keenan LA. Thank you so much for coming. Good evening to you all. Waiting just a little bit longer and then we should get on to the first poll. Just to let people know, we'll be hosting polls tonight. If you open the chat tab in the top right of your screen on your phone, wherever you are, there should be a little chat box there. That's where the polls will go. And hopefully it'll just be a quick, easy, tap the answer that you think is the correct answer or the answer that you want to put, and then click submit. And then we'll get all the stats to show what everyone's thinking. So that will happen shortly. And your final did you know fact whilst we're waiting for everyone. Are you ready for this? The most common car in the UK is the Ford Fiesta. Well, that's the most insured car on our roads, the Ford Fiesta. Do you have one? Is it the family car? Now you know, you've got the most common car there. There you go. Very reliable, very good car. And you know what? I've got one more for you whilst we're waiting. The most common car colour in the UK. Do you know what it is? Have a guess. What would be the most common car colour in the UK? All the people in the UK get to choose their car colour. It's grey. Grey is the most common car colour. Bonkers. You'd never think that, would you? You'd think it'd be black or white or maybe red or blue. No, grey. Now you know, every time you see a grey car. And at one point, the West Midlands, as we're here in a Warwickshire webinar, at one point, the West Midlands had the most orange cars registered. Most orange cars. Crazy. All right, final intro. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Together on the Learning to Drive Journey webinar. I'm your host, Keenan LA. Today, we're going to give you lots of top tips and guidance on your learning journey. We'll look at the most dangerous types of road, how many hours of lessons you should have, what to look out for when getting your first car, and how to look after it. So without much further ado, shall we start with the first poll? If I can have the next slide. So here you go. On your chat now, somewhere should come up with the poll. We've got the first question here. What is the recommended number of hours of driving lessons with a driving instructor? Is it 25 hours, 35 hours, 45 hours, or 55 hours? So hopefully it's come up on your screen somewhere. Just click what you think the answer is. What is the recommended number of driving hours? No, excuse me, number of hours for driving lessons with a driving instructor. 25, 35, 45, or 55? What do you think? Nice, you tap it in there. Got a lot of 45s, a couple of 35s there. 55, yeah. Nicely done. I'll submit as well. The poll came up for me. I know what the answer is, but I'll submit as well. So here we can see we've got 7% at 25 hours, 16% of you are putting 35. A lot of you, the most today with 64% is 45 hours. And we've got 55 hours with 13%. So on the next slide, thank you very much. So as you can see, what is the recommended number of hours of driving lessons with a driving instructor? 45 hours, would you believe it? Usually, some people might take a little bit less, some people might take longer. At the end of the day, the more lessons you take with a driving instructor, the more of the base knowledge that you'll get and you'll keep forever on your driving journey. So actually more lessons is better, believe it or not. Your driving instructor will let you know when they believe you're ready for the practical. And it's also recommended to have 22 hours of extra private practice without your instructor. So what's private practice? Great question. Private practice is driving with a family member or friend outside of your normal lessons. So this is where you drive either in the family car with your mum or dad in the passenger seat for the first time ever. How crazy is that? And then you'll go out and you'll basically carry on learning to drive with someone else, probably your family member, teaching you how, giving you top tips and all that sort of stuff. And the person who would help you with your private practice does need to be over 21, qualified to drive the type of car that you're practicing in. So if they have a automatic license, they can't teach you in a manual car because they haven't learned how to, basically. Would you believe it? And they must have had their full driving license for at least 3 years. You'll also need learner driving insurance, which you can get for a day or for a week or even an hour if need be. Have a search online to get the best rates. And watch out though, as some insurance will actually ask for an even older driver than someone who's over 21. Some might say 25 or 30. You never know, but always check your insurance policy. Some people might not, which is, scary. Oh. I can speak from experience. I really enjoyed my private practice sessions. It's not only preparing you for your tests and it's extra knowledge in a different car with a different person. It's also a great bonding experience. Like driving with my mum in the passenger seat for the first time ever after my whole life being the one in the passenger seat. It was quite surreal. It was one of those, I was thinking like, oh no, I think I'm an adult now. I think I've become an adult. I'm like, Mum, I'm not driving until you put your seatbelt on. So yeah, it's really, really good private practice. It's amazing. It changed everything for me. I passed first time my driving test, and that is definitely down to the amount of hours I put in with my instructor, and all the extra hours I put in private practice with my mum around car parks. And we did that as well for like reverse bay and all the different maneuvers you have to do. But it's really, I really recommend that. We all really recommend that a lot. So one of my perception switches for you. Actually, before I do that, I've got a nice cool stat for you as well, as you can see at the bottom of the slide there. Research also shows that people who combine their driving lessons with private practice are 50% more likely to pass the driving test, which is, just that one thing, just driving extra hours in a different car with a different person, 50% extra more chance of passing. Amazing. Love that. I've got a nice cool perception switch for you. Is think about, if there's a lot of young drivers in the call today, think about all of the exams you've taken or you're about to have in your life. If you fail or don't take your maths exam seriously, it's not necessarily the end of the world. You're not going to get hurt from that physically. But if you don't take your driving test seriously, or if you fail a couple of times, what happens? That has a proper impact on your life. You might get injured, you might crash, you might lose a lot of money in the car. It's a very important test in your life. I'd argue the first proper step up from being a young teenager to a young adult. It's very important. And again, it won't affect just you. It could also affect the other people on the road as well. You've got families driving, other workers. It's a very important step up in your life. And you should be very proud when you get to that moment when you pass your driving test. Because at that point, you can start saying, oh, I'm an adult, I can drive now. So thank you very much. That was the intro. But now I'm going to pass it on to Abigail Holland from the DVSA, who is going to talk about the Ready to Pass campaign, which is very cool. I'll see you in a bit.
Thanks, Keenan. So it's great to be here and talking to you all today. I'm Abigail Holland, and I've worked for DVSA for 2 decades in their communications team, and I've been working on the Ready to Pass campaign for the last 4 years. and I'm a mother of a learner driver, and that's the reasons why I've kind of worked and developed the campaign, because I felt that it was important to we could do more to give better advice and support to learner drivers and those who are helping them. Next slide, please. So today I'm going to be talking about 3 things. And these are the skills that you need to prepare for your test, how to book a test safely, and how to check that you're ready. Next slide, please. As Keenan says, those that do 45 hours of driving lessons and 22 hours of private practice are 50% more likely to pass their test. Next slide, please. When it comes to learning to drive, there's like 3 important numbers that you need to remember to kind of make sure you've got the skills you need. And they are 27, 8, and 5. So there are 27 skills that you need to learn. How many of you can name those skills? There are 8. They're grouped into 8 groups, and there's 5 different levels of progress that you need to kind of go through to kind of get the skills you need to be safe on the roads. So next slide, please. With the 20, so with the 5 levels, people will start at an instruction level, and this is where you will get shown the skills by your instructor, and you'll progress through the levels. And as you progress through the levels, you'll become more independent in your driving, more confident, and you'll get to the point where you get to level 5, where you'll become more reflective on your driving and be able to adapt to any situation that you face. Next slide, please. When you're actually doing your private practice, it's important that you kind of record it and your lessons against the 5 levels. So we've pulled together a checklist, but you could use this, the driver's record, and kind of like log your progress against each of them. But your driving instructor may also have their own version of that, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine. They will, as long as you are getting to that point where you're driving independently without prompting, then it's fine. You've got to the point where you're ready to take your test. Next slide, please. Also, if you want to be here, if you're here tonight to kind of look to kind of support a learner driver with the Learn to Drive progress, we've got lots and lots of helps and like guidance and tips on and the rules on what you need to do. For example, did you know that because you're in charge of the vehicle, you can't actually be on your mobile phone when kind of sat next to a learner driver because you're actually in charge of the vehicle? All of these tips and the guidance is all on the Ready to Pass campaign site, so please go and check it out. We've also got learning materials, our official learning materials that have got lots more helps and like advice for you as well if you're supporting a learner driver through this process. Next slide, please. When it comes to booking your test, I know that there's been a lot around these third-party driving test cancellation apps finder services, but what we want to do is make sure that you know that there are risks in using those. Potentially, if you use them, you could risk your personal details. You could probably be charged more for a driving test, and you might not get important messages about your test. If, say, for example, if we have to cancel it or change it at short notice. So we've produced some guidance that sets out kind of all the risks and the advice on how to book through the official site. So please check that out on the campaign site. Next slide, please. Do you want to be more likely to pass your test? Well, if you do, then take a mock test. You would with any other test, and you're more likely to kind of pass. 40 times more likely to pass as well. So these are a great way for you to kind of check that you know the things that you're going to be assessed against, to kind of know what the test is going to look like, and the driving skills that are needed for that test as well. So we would definitely recommend it. Next slide, please. We've got a checklist as well to make sure you can check that you're ready. So this includes kind of if you can do all of the things on this, so you can kind of drive without prompting from your instructors, you're not making serious or dangerous mistakes, you can pass a mock test, and you practice ways to manage your nerves, and your instructor says you're ready, then you're ready for your test. Next slide, please. We've also pulled together some simple checks that you can do on the day of your test, because 150,000 people, no, 1,500, sorry, they didn't have their tests, didn't go ahead because in the last month, because they failed to bring their driving license, or they didn't bring the right car, or they didn't turn up on time. So remember to kind of get your license a few days before, put it in a safe place, check out the rules on a car if you're going to be bringing your own car or a family member's car. You can obviously use your instructor's car, but you'll need to make sure that they're okay for you using it. And use an app like one of the route finder apps to kind of check the time whether you're going to test it is, and check to make sure that you've got enough time to make sure that you arrive 5 minutes before your appointment. Next slide, please. So in summary, you're more likely to pass your test if you combine your driving lessons with private practice, you track your progress on the 27 skills against the 5 levels, you use the official Gov.uk website to book your test safely, and you take a mock test with your instructor, you use the campaign checklist, and you take the right things to your test, and you delay your test if you're not ready. So push it back, give yourself more time to have practice if you need to kind of do that. Next slide, please. We're also, as from today, for everybody on this call and stuff like that, we have arranged for a discount code. So I've talked about our official learning materials. We've got apps, we've got e-learning modules, and we've also got lots of books and stuff like that. So the code is going to be put in the chat. You'll get a 25% discount for those of you who haven't started the process across our range of projects. So go and check out the Safe Driving for Life website or the official TSA work store, please. Thank you. Next slide, please. And so to close, I would just say everything that I've talked about is on the Ready to Pass campaign site. So if you haven't already, please check it out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Abigail. That was really cool, actually. I'm remembering back when I was learning to drive, I didn't have the 27 skills and the 8 groups and the 5 levels. I like how it's been subsection down, really informative. That's really cool. I think it was a bit overwhelming for me when I was learning to drive back in 2016, 2017. So that's really cool. And again, I'd like to emphasize, bring your driving license to your driving test. You cannot fail on the first step. You just got to bring it. Make sure it's your most special and most important thing for that day. Make sure you have a nice breakfast as well. Next, I'm going to hand over to Ollie Taylor, who is going to tell you the honest truth about learning to drive. Take it away, Ollie.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Keenan. My name is Ollie, a former police officer, worked in roads policing for nearly half my 30-year career, attended an awful lot of serious and fatal collisions, often as not, tragically involving young drivers and passengers. So I've retired from policing, I've come back into road safety, particularly the young driver side of road safety, heading up a campaign called The Honest Truth. So, road safety is part of the learning to drive process. Can the next slide, please? So, talking to driving instructors, one question they often get asked is how quickly and how cheaply, usually by the person who's paying for the lessons. Now, we did a poll recently to look at the importance of road safety as part of the learning to drive process. We polled nearly 400 young drivers. 94% of those 400 young drivers right across the UK rated road safety as part of the learning to drive process as very important or important. So then that how quickly and how cheaply can you get me to a test? need to be able to look at. Next slide, please. All about the power of context. So not about the output, about the outcome. Looking at what is the best way to deliver road safety. Group dynamics, one-to-one, moments of high interest, high engagement. That's your driving lesson time. All about the chat. It's all about being able to open up debate and conversation about a particular topic. So who has the best touch points to new drivers? Schools. So I'm sure any young drivers in the webinar this evening may well have had road safety inputs at schools. Do they feel confident enough to ask questions if they wanted to? Do they feel a bit nervous? They might be sort of seen as a bit silly if they ask a question they're not quite sure about. Parents, any parents on the webinar this evening? What sort of leverage have you got? Maybe you're paying for lessons, maybe you're helping towards pay for a car. But actually, how much will they listen? How much will sons and daughters, those that you're looking after, how much will they listen? How much will you give them all the advice you can? They'll then do one of two things. They'll either completely ignore it or they'll do completely the opposite. I've got two sons, they're through their teenage years now. We've been through that learning to drive process. So as a dad of two boys, I can be fairly confident in that. All driving instructors, one-to-one discussion, being able to open up and discuss confidently, discuss these topics within the car. Driving instructors is a clear way to deliver these road safety messages. Next slide, please. What is the honest truth? Really simply, a simple way to deliver relevant road safety education at one of the most teachable moments during the course of driving lessons. It's an app for driving instructors where they can track the progress of their pupils through road safety campaign topics, of which there are 10. So next slide, please. The 10 honest truths, called the honest truth because we believe young people can handle the truth. We've got 10 truths there for anybody that knows the fatal 5. The fatal 5 are in there, vitally important, plus 5 others. We've got things in there about insurance, about passing, vulnerable road users, showing off distractions, drugs, tiredness. Now, drugs isn't just illicit drugs. We also talk about prescription medication as well. So the risks of driving with certain prescription medications, seatbelts, drink, speeding, and obviously mobile phones. Each of those is introduced with a 2-minute video to enable discussion and debate to be able to take place throughout that lesson. Next slide, please. It's all about giving driving instructors the tools they need to deliver this education, embedding road safety seamlessly within driving lessons. No learner is left behind because every learner gets all the truths. No self-selection. So if there's a young driver out there who doesn't think road safety is for them, doesn't matter, they'll still get all the information. Because it might be that one pupil takes away one bit of information from one of the truths they learn, and when the time matters for them to have to make a decision without having their driving instructor next to them, they've got to make it all on their own, they've then got the ability to make the right decision at that moment in time. All about the app, harnessing technology, using the app to be able to deliver road safety and track a pupil's progress through road safety. Next slide, please. 2-minute truths, like I've explained. There we have Keenan and Serena who have filmed the truths for us, all contained within the app. It's great. After every truth delivered, pupils will then get an email from us with a link to the video and some more really useful tips and hints about that particular topic that they can then use to build their confidence to be able to make the right decision at the right point in time. Next slide, please. So emails, so we follow up emails. So all young drivers get a welcome email from us. They get one every time they complete a truth. They get a graduation email with a downloadable printable certificate, and then we can send topical and seasonal information emails out with information and advice. You can see there the average open rate for our emails, if anybody is interested, nearly 63%. Almost double an awful lot of other email groups that are out there. So we know that young people do appreciate and actually will open up the emails and look at the content in them. Have the next slide, please. So if you just, a couple of young drivers here telling us what they think about the honest truth. Just click that one, please, for me.
I've found the ones I've seen, I've found really helpful and informative. It sort of makes you more aware of yourself and around like speeding. If others are speeding, fine, that's down to them. Just to be aware of like your speed. Yeah, they're really good.
Next slide, please, and just double click it.
So Taylor, how do you feel about the Honest Truth videos?
I think they're very informative in the way as they get straight to the point, but they're not so like strict and don't like lecture you about it, but they show it in a like fun but serious way. And I think they've shown a lot of stuff that I didn't know, like how serious things can be, in the way of like fines and when things go wrong. That's what you can get. Yeah.
From the Honest Truth videos. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And next slide, please. So here, there's an ADI in Warwickshire there, Surinder, and what they think about the Honest Truth, and also Becky learning to drive in Merseyside, her views on the Honest Truth. So it's designed for young drivers, new drivers, but it's for driving instructors to deliver. Now, we've got 40 odd driving instructors who are delivering the Honest Truth across Warwickshire at the moment, and today I've had another 8 sign up, so another 8 are going to be joining those 40 in the next 24 hours. And again, I understand that as part of this webinar there'll be a list of those driving instructors that are delivering the Honest Truth. So if you're a young driver looking for driving lessons, find a driving instructor who delivers this added benefit, added value around that road safety element of learning to drive. And the final slide, please. So again, if you want any more information, you can use scan the QR code on the screen now. We'll take you straight to the Honest Truth website. And any driving instructors who are on the call who aren't part of the Honest Truth, who want to be, absolutely scan that, get in touch, join us, and start delivering the 10 truths to your pupils as well. Keenan, thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Ollie. That's awesome. Yeah, for you guys, I filmed a lot of the, or actually, yeah, a lot of the Honest Truth videos. And the information in those are so important, so informative. It goes straight to the truth. None of this really long videos, 10, 20-minute videos explaining one thing straight there. It's really good. So highly recommend that. Thank you, Ollie. All right. We are now on to the next stage of our webinar, your first car. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So a new poll should come up any second. There's the poll. Would you consider looking at the Euro NCAP rating for a vehicle when looking to buy? Yes? No, I don't know what NCAP is. Please be honest. If you don't know, that's absolutely fine. That's why you're here today, to find out. You might know what it is and still click no, which is absolutely fine. Be honest. Let us know. The poll should come up on your screen somewhere. Choose your answer and click submit. You can have a look at the responses. Yeah, just as we expected, a lot of you don't know what NCAP is, which is absolutely fine, because believe it or not, I'm going to tell you what it is on the next slide. About 33% of you are saying yes. That's cool. Not that many saying no, which is cool. Okay, so next slide. Here we go. So your first car. To help choose the safest first car, we suggest looking at the European New Car Assessment Programme, which is the Euro NCAP. The Euro NCAP is a car safety rating system that helps consumers compare the safety of new vehicles. It's a 5-star rating system. 0 stars means the car lacks critical modern safety tech. And yes, there are cars that are released that have 0 stars. They get rated 0 stars, like the Fiat Panda and the Renault Zoe. And I'm very sorry if that's the family car or a car you were looking for. I don't want to make it awkward, but it's just a fact. That's what they got. They got 0. 5 stars means the car is equipped with state-of-the-art protection. The higher the star rating, the safer the vehicle. Just like how we review movies or TV shows or anything like that. More stars means good. Would you believe it? The rating is determined from a set of tests based on 4 important areas: adult occupant, so the adults in the car; the child occupant, so children in the car; the vulnerable road user protection, so the people outside of the car. How does the car protect others that are not in it? And safety assist, so how are the safety features rated? Here are some examples of safety tech that would push a car to a higher safety rating. So here you can see in the bottom left there, the passive safety features. These systems are designed to reduce the severity of injuries in the event of a collision. So airbags, seatbelts, crumple zones, stuff that hopefully will never have to be used in your car, except for your seatbelts. You do have to use your seatbelts. And then we have active safety features. These are designed to avoid collisions in the first place. You've got the anti-lock braking system, the ABS, which stops skidding whilst braking, and it's been fitted as standard on vehicles since 2004. So that's a really cool safety technology there. Other features include the electronic stability control, the escape button, as I call it, 'cause it's ESC, and the autonomous emergency braking, the AEB. So that is where cars will detect you might collide with someone before you do and brake for you as well. We're in the future. There's a lot of really cool tech out there. So I got to review the new Renault Clio recently. Here's an example of another really cool safety tech. The rear view mirror, that it automatically dims when it detects glare from behind. It automatically goes darker. It's very safe, but how cool is that? We are in the future, or dim for you. Crazy stuff. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So we'd like to get across today in this webinar that for your first car, it's better to get a fresh car with a high NCAP rating. And that's emphasis on fresh. We're not saying a new car or a first car needs to be brand new, just fresh, closer to new than old, within the best before date. So why is it better? We've got a nice little traffic light system for you here. A new driver will have more incentive to look after their fresh car, therefore themselves. You know, when you guys get a new pair of shoes, a new dress, a new jacket, and you want to and enjoy looking after it, you even vow to, you're like, oh, I'm never going to let anything happen to this jacket. It would be the exact same for your fresh car, your fresher car. It would be extra special, so you would take extra care for it when driving, and therefore you'd be taking extra care of yourself. By protecting your car, you're protecting yourself. It works hand in hand. So yeah, a fresh car with a high NCAP rating is more expensive at the start, but you are paying for the safety of the driver. For the parents in the chat, what price would you put on the safety of your not so little one anymore? And for yourselves, for any driver, young driver who's getting the car themselves, you'd want to put more money into something that's going to protect you. Putting a bit more money at the start of your driving journey could be the reason why you stay on your journey indefinitely. Think about all of these safety features that you could be missing out on, and there's a lot. We've only covered the basics, to be honest with you, in the previous slide. And the final one here, getting an old banger for your first car is cheaper. It's also much more dangerous and expensive in the long run. Let's not forget, old bangers can break down a lot. Multiple trips to the garage, fixing both small and big issues with your old banger will add up. And that's even if you can make it to the garage. I had one friend whose car just stopped, died on his drive. That was it. It just didn't work, and it was a write-off. Like, whatever happened, it was just gone. That was it. It's over. And his old banger, which was over 15 years old, that was it, done. And I had another friend who bought an old car, really old car, and the cam bounce, which is one of the things in the engine, just snapped on an A road. And just like that, right off. The old car, old banger broke, and they were stuck, and then all pandemonium. All because, well, not just because they got an old car, but there's definitely one of the biggest reasons is because of that. So there's a really good rule of thumb. A car made 5 to 10 years ago gets a thumbs up. That is wicked. That is very cool. A car made within the last 5 years, double thumbs up. Double thumbs up. Very, very cool there. Banging stuff. And of course, a brand new car is my thumb on fire. Nice. All cars within those timeframes will have an NCAP rating and will be more likely to have those life-saving technologies in them. So have a search when you're looking for your first car. Just like how you would look at the ratings for a movie before you go to the cinema, you should definitely be looking at the ratings for a car before you get one, just so you know how safe you could be. I was very lucky, before we go on to the next slide, I was very lucky to talk about my own personal experience. I managed to get a brand new first car. And it changed my life forever. I looked after it like it was part of me. A lot of my family came together and I felt so supported. I didn't want to do anything to this new car. Again, like new shoes, like a new jacket, because I want to keep it safe and protected. It's very nice and I'm very lucky to have it. It never crashed. I never have to go to the garage. And as for the MOT, it's still going strong. So yes, it's very good to have that sort of perception in your mind. A fresher car, not necessarily brand new, will make you safer in the long run and will keep you driving. So next, we are going on to Dave from the Warwickshire Police, who's going to talk to you about telematics and insurance. So take it away, Dave. Thank you.
Hi, Keenan. Thank you. Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. I'm Sergeant Dave Ruddy from Warwickshire Police. I'm currently a Rose Policing Sergeant. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about insurance and telematics. We know that insurance is going to be really expensive for you when you're learning to drive. We just wanted to give you some tips about how you can maybe look for the right insurance for you, and some sort of safety advice really around telematics. Insurance is going to be one of the most painful things about being a young driver. The cost of fronting, which we'll talk about in the next few slides, or driving without cover could be much greater. Next slide, please. So just ways for you guys, just some little tips. Practicing in between lessons is a way to improve your confidence and experience, but you have got to be insured. I know it's quite common sense, but a lot of people are using insurance that is not for them, not getting the right cover for them, or using a different car when they're only insured to use one vehicle. So learner driver insurance covers a young driver to practice in somebody else's car instead of being added to their insurance. So specifically for that learner driver, you can build your no claims bonus upon that, and you can prove actually I'm a safe driver. If you do have a bit of a mishap, a collision or a crash, you can claim on that purposely made insurance policy on you. and not the owner, so not the owner of the vehicle. It gives a bit of protection for the person that owns the car, and also if it's a parent or somebody's car that you're borrowing, it's a bit of a mutual agreement there around what's going to happen if the inevitable happens. Hopefully it doesn't. Just check your policies. Usually only covers you, like I said, to drive one vehicle, one specific vehicle. Next slide, please. Just some do's and don'ts around getting insurance. Some of these are common sense, but some of these are things that we think you need some help with. Just make sure you shop around. Make sure that we're not just going for the cheapest insurance. Often the cheapest insurance may not have the correct cover for you. And it is worth picking up the phone, just ringing around. And there are specific young driver insurance companies out there that are tailored for young drivers, new drivers, and learner drivers that know the pitfalls of some insurance schemes. So it's a good way of looking at those and comparing those on sites as well. Another thing, black box insurance. It's relatively new, I'd say, for the last few years. Black box insurance, we will talk about that in a bit, but there is sort of a good safety element around that as well. It's good for parents as well, parents and carers, people that are looking at their own driving style, and insurance companies can actually give you a bit of a discount on the way you drive. Make sure you buy in advance as well. If you try and time your insurance purchase at the correct time, if you buy too early or too late, we found that it tends to be quite expensive. If you aim for the middle ground, 3 weeks max, or 3 weeks they say is a good sort of time to buy your insurance. That seems to be a good avenue there. Also, don't lie to your insurer. Anything that you lie about, where the car is going to be parked at night, for example, how often it's going to be driven, the use of your driving as well. Your insurance company will withdraw your insurance policy at a drop of a hat. If anything were to happen, they will not cover you. And we're all guilty of it. We get all these the policy documents come through on an email or in the post. There's reams and reams of forms and information. We don't have time to read that. But if anything were to happen, the insurance companies do have clauses to withdraw your insurance, meaning that they won't help you if anything happens. As I said before, don't just go for the cheapest policy. Make sure you do look around. And if you modify your car, please inform your insurance company. Any modifications on your car that your insurance company aren't aware of will most likely invalidate your insurance. That could be anything from the external parts on the car, anything internal, even the tyre size, anything that's not factory standard is a modification on your car. By all means, if you want to modify your car, no issues with that, but you just need to let your insurance company know. Okay, next slide, please. Telematics insurance, black box cover as it's known. There are specific companies out there that offer black box insurance. The good things with these are they generally are fitted to your car or an app or something similar to that. They track you through GPS generally. Check how fast you're driving, what the road, the limit would be, the speed limit for the vehicle, the road that you're driving on, how you're accelerating. Is it harsh acceleration, fast acceleration, harsh braking, sharp cornering? And some of these telematics devices, you can actually look at your own driving style and your own driving standards, and some of them are rated as well. So it's particularly for parents or carers or anybody who's trying to help a young driver with their insurance, it gives them peace of mind on how you're driving, that that you could be safe, things like that. And also there are some telematics insurance companies that give you curfews. So from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. you won't be driving the car. That may bring your insurance premium down. But also being the main driver allows you to build up your no claims discount, your no claims bonus. We know how expensive insurance is. We have all been there, and we know it's ever increasing cost. But as soon as you get those no claims discounts behind you, it should come down as long as you don't have any collisions. There are some restrictions around no claims discounts as well for young drivers. Next slide, please. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about fronting. Fronting is when A young person insures their vehicle with their parent or guardian as the policy holder and main driver. This is a tricky one, really, because some people would use this to try and bring their insurance premium down. The only issue with that, it does fall to fraud. It is fraudulent. It is a criminal offence. If you are solely using that car for your own purpose, but you're saying that the insurance is in another person's name and they're going to be the main driver, but really you're the main driver on that car, you won't be insured if anything were to happen and the insurance companies find out. And also, it is a fraudulent policy. It's a fraudulent insurance, and I don't wish anybody fall foul of that. Unfortunately, in my line of work, I do see a lot of people that are not insured correctly, and they're left with costs to get insured at the roadside, release their vehicle from recovery agents and things like that. As you can see, the maximum sentence in there can go to Crown Court, and is a 10-year present sentence. Yeah, just make sure you don't lie. That's the main key thing. The fact that you're here at this webinar, you are looking to try and get the right thing and get the right advice. And we're not here to penalise young drivers, and we are here to try and help, especially in my line of work. Yeah, so good luck, best of luck with insurance. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, David. That was really cool. I'd like to emphasize the point you made as well about shopping around. Keep checking for not necessarily the cheapest rates, but you never know what might be included in them. So check your policies, check what's ticked in the categories. Make sure you clear your cookies as well, because a lot of these sites like to know, oh, you've been searching for a long time. Look the prices. And a lot of really good tips online as well. Have a Google to make sure you get the cheapest, but also best insurance. Next, we have Sophie Lydon from Fresh Drivers UK, who's going to teach you all about car maintenance, which is so important. People just think after driving, learning to drive, get passing their test, and that's it. Well, actually, you've got to look after the car that you're driving as well. So, yeah, take it away, Sophie. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Sophie Lydon from Fresh Drivers UK. I have been in the automotive trade now basically all my life, but directly in the automotive trade for the past 10 years. And we had a really bad crash outside the garage, which led me to start campaigning for road safety within new drivers and young drivers. And my husband became a firefighter. So today I just wanted to talk to you about the importance of vehicle maintenance. I understand that when you learn to pass a test, you literally learn to pass a test, and depending on what kind of instructor you have depends on what kind of input you get when you've passed your test and knowing basically what to do with your vehicle. So, oh, I was about to tap it, like, next slide. Please have the next slide. So obviously all different age groups are different how they look after their vehicles, and the worst is 24 to 42, which we call the millennials. Can I have the next slide, please? You can see the age on the graph, depending on which one it is, that most people just kind of Google what's wrong with the car instead of actually going to a garage. And that's down to garage anxiety, which is what people have. And it's the anxiety of being told that your car's kind of going to need quite an expensive bill to fix what is actually wrong with it. So people just kind of avoid going to the garage altogether, which leads to the problems getting worse and worse and worse. And like Keenan said, you end up with a broken down car, which with all the damage that you've kind of done to it by ignoring it, gets written off. Next slide, please. So I avoid going to a garage if my car makes a bad noise. I mean, drop in the comments if that's what you do and why you do that, because I'd love to answer some of the questions at the end to kind of get into why you avoid going to a garage. I think a lot of it is the misconception that when you come to a garage that the person that you're dealing with is aiming to rip you off. Now, if you go to a garage you can trust, then that doesn't necessarily happen. And I know there's different garages across the UK, and you know, they all sort of treat people different, unfortunately. I'm an independent garage, so it's run by a family. Most independent garages are very grateful for your business. We're all family owned. It puts the food on our table, and we like to keep people safe and make sure our community is safe, because at the same time we're driving on the same roads as you. So yeah, next slide, please. So why do people feel uncomfortable? some of you might be looking at this slide thinking, yep, that's me, that's why I feel uncomfortable. A lot of women feel uncomfortable going to a garage because they feel like we kind of get seen as, well, they don't know what they're talking about, so I can add an extra £15 on, £20 on, and they won't know any different. Well, it's not always the case. If that happens to you in a garage, unfortunately, you've just picked the wrong one. So I fear I won't be able to afford the repairs, which is very common. We're struggling at the moment with everyone being able to afford the basics. So obviously when you have a big bill for your car, it's the same thing. I get anxious. We all have social anxiety from COVID and the pandemic. And I've seen a lot more in younger people. So sort of like the ages between sort of 18 to 20 do have a lot more social anxiety, and that's due to the fact that we were kind of locked up for so many years, and people don't know how to deal with the situation, so they'd rather just Google it, email, and not actually do anything about it. I feel uncomfortable. Garages are intimidating. I've been overcharged before. I've had experience in the past. Next slide, please. The silent generation, age 74, the most auto-responsible, but another age group that are most at risk on our roads. Next slide, please. So why is maintenance so important? Now, if any of you decide to follow me after this presentation on @FreshDrivers UK across TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn, I basically talk constantly about the conditions of vehicles that come into my garage, and it is very, very scary. So these tyres are all what we've taken off. These aren't even bad anymore. I need to update this slide really, because the past week I've taken off some horrific tyres, and a lot of people just don't know how to do the basic checks. So there's something called a powdery check, which is your petrol, your oil, your water, electrics, rubber. I've missed D. I can't think right now. There's powder or there's floury checks. Basically, they're the checks that you need to do before you go on any road trip. And doing these checks with your driving instructor, they should realistically be showing you through these checks, is so important. Like Keenan said, some people don't know how to open the bonnet. Well, you should be able to find the bonnet catch. D for damage, yes, thank you. And you should be able to open the bonnet. The bonnet catch is usually located in the passenger side footwell or the driver's side footwell, and you'll be able to find that there. You literally just pull it once and it'll pop your bonnet. If you have a BMW, you usually have to pop it twice, so you pull it twice and it'll pop the bonnet open. And then once you pop your bonnet open, you can find the little stick that you can plug into your bonnet and put it up. And some actually have like the hydraulic, so it just kind of pops up. Next slide, please. So what are the basics? So the basics of car maintenance are suspension, wipers. Wipers is one thing that's really, really missed. A lot of people will just drive around with absolutely rubbish wipers that don't even clear the windscreen efficiently and just kind of not even think about them. Tires, again, one of the most neglected things on vehicles. Brakes, again, one of the most neglected things on vehicles. Usually people that come into the garage who have got bald tires also have no brakes either. Fluid levels, warning lights, exhaust, and engine checks. So the little signs that are already on this slide in front of you can see that there's the orange light with the orange exclamation mark. That is your TPMS light, so that's your tyre pressure monitoring systems. Now, if that comes on your dashboard, do not ignore it. It's telling you that there is something wrong with the tyres on your vehicle. Now, that could be that you've just lost a bit of pressure. It could be that it's detected a foreign object in the tyre. And it also could mean that if you've checked the pressure and the tyre pressure seems okay, it was maybe off slightly, and the light still persists, you've potentially got a problem with the battery and the TPMS sensor, or the valve is faulty as well. And then obviously the red engine light indicates an engine management light, but when it's red, you should stop the vehicle. You shouldn't be driving anymore. Any lights that come on your dashboard, which are orange, are kind of just a warning, as if to say, like, you need to get this looked at as soon as you can. Anything that comes on when it's red means stop as soon as you can, because the car is no longer safe to drive, or you're going to basically ruin it even more. Next slide, please. So what are the most neglected? So tyres, 100%. I take off at least 20 to 25 bolt tyres a day. This week has been ridiculous with the bolt tyres. And brakes, they are so neglected. People just seem to think that your brakes should scrape or should squeal. They should not be making any noises whatsoever. Air filter is another one that's always forgotten about. People just have oil and filter changes because they think that, oh, it's going to save a bit of money. But then obviously you've got your cabin, your pollen filter and your air filter, which then all get missed. Now they do sort of deteriorate over time. And if you don't change them, then it's not very good for your car. It's not very healthy. And engine oil change / service. So many people forget to have their car serviced or just avoid it altogether. Doesn't matter whether you buy a brand new car, you still have to have it serviced. If you don't get it serviced, again, it will still break down. I've just had a 2019 Nissan Qashqai where she'd never serviced it for 2 years and the coolant expansion tank exploded. Oil, coolant makes like a milky coloured solution. Not very good for your engine, and unfortunately, it didn't end very well. Next slide, please. So what other factors are also missed and you should be thinking about? So battery maintenance is one massive thing that you should always think about. Having a flat battery is the most inconvenient thing ever. It's on par with having a bolt, and obviously you don't have a bolt tyre. It's on par with having a flat tyre as well. So battery maintenance is really easy. So not doing constant short journeys because that can wear out your battery. You need to at least be having a good run in your car, you know, making sure the battery is charging. And if you're thinking, actually, no, my car isn't starting very well and not really, I don't know what's going on here. If you go to a garage, we all have battery testers. We basically just pop it onto the top of the battery and it tells us what percentage is in the battery, if it's healthy or if you're ready for a new one. Don't run around and empty or use low quality fuel. So I don't recommend using any of the supermarket fuels. Supermarket fuels are not as good as your standard BP, Texaco, your Shell. They're basically filtrated, watered down to make it cheaper, but they're not great for your car. If it means it's down to cost, then I understand that. However, what I would say is do sort of 2 tanks of supermarket fuel to 1 decent tank of your BP fuel. Just keeps your car a little bit healthy. The cleanliness of the inside and the outside of your vehicle is very important, and I say that because you need to make sure you don't have lots of random objects, anything heavy just kind of loose in your car. If you were to be, unfortunately, in a crash, then you have to think of what you've got loose in your vehicle as to what could hit you or anything like that if you were to roll. So it's always good to keep your car organized, always good to keep it clean. The outside of the vehicle, again, I can't really say much about that because my car looks awful at the moment. It's covered in mud and everything, but it's always good to sort of fall in love with your car and think, I want to do these powder checks, I want to do my flowery checks, I want to keep it clean, and, you know, check your tire pressures whilst you're having it cleaned, you know, like all that kind of stuff. Just basically give your car the attention that you would give to other things. And bulbs and wipers, they are so neglected. People do not check their lights whatsoever. I bet one of you tonight, if you go out in the car with someone, that you'll probably see somebody with a bulb out. You'll probably see, you know, it's so common that people just don't check the lights. Now, doing obviously the powder checks means that you will check the lights, and it's just so important to make sure that all these aspects of your car are checked before you go anywhere. And it means it sort of reduces the risk of anything happening to you. It reduces the risk of you doing anything to another driver, and it also keeps you safe. And being a responsible driver is so important, especially just passing your test. If you get caught with 2 bolt tyres after you've just passed your test, and you've lost your license straight away, and it's so not worth doing that. Next slide, please. So this is my social media. I can't really go too much into detail about what I would like to talk to you about because I don't have a lot of time. But if you want to drop me a message on any of my social medias, I'm more than happy to help. I'm on my phone all the time. It's what I do whilst I run my garage. So yeah, just drop me a message anytime. And if there's anything I can do to help give you advice or anything like that, then please do drop me a message. The next slide says any questions. I think we're going to answer questions at the end. So if you've got any questions relating to your car, to preventive maintenance, to anything like that, make sure to drop the question and I'll answer it at the end for you. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Sophie. That was really, really cool. I really like, yeah, I'd like to mention as well, you can Google. A lot I noticed in the chats, people are a bit scared, not too sure about garages. You can Google to have free health checks for your car. You just Google nearest free health check for my car, and you can go to a local garage and they can check your car for free very quickly, just so you know what's going on. If you have no clue what's going on, it's making a certain noise, you're unsure of, all that sort of stuff, and you can just get it tested for free, which is amazing, really, really cool. I also really liked Sophie's point that she made at the start. It's a really great point about getting to know your local garage. If you live in Warwickshire, there is a number of open evenings happening in October for this very thing. So if you can see the QR code on your screens now, the top left, if you scan that, you can follow the link in the chat to find out about more as well. But yeah, it's very important. They say in life you need to have 3 friends. I think it's a lawyer, and a doctor, and a mechanic. If you get to know your local garage and they'll teach you about your car as well. I've done that as well. As much as I'm here on this webinar now, there's still a lot of stuff I don't really know about the car. Sophie taught me about a few things there. So it's very important. Just be friendly with them, find your local garage. And as I said, look at the link there if you're in Warwick, and there'll be some local open evenings for you as well. Pretty cool. All right, so next slide, please. Here we go. So we have a red background now because we're getting a little bit serious. So here we have a next poll where you can actually answer however you'd like. What do you think are the most dangerous roads to drive on? Is it city streets, motorways, country roads, residential roads, A roads, B roads, 50 miles per hour roads, 60 mile per hour roads, 70 mile per hour roads, rainbow roads? Any of you Mario Kart fans, we all know that rainbow roads would be the most dangerous out of that list there. But in real life, what do you think the most dangerous type of road to drive on is? So you could type in your answers now. Probably give a little bit more time. Nice. Someone in the chat. Yeah, we've got motorways, got country roads all day. City streets. Yeah, completely understand why we would think that. We've got a particular road that someone doesn't like a certain road, not on Stratford Road. Yeah, I get you. 70 or more. Rainbow roads, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Oh, roads with lots of parked vehicles. That's nice. Not seen that one before. Yeah. These are great answers, guys. We'll give it another couple, 10 more seconds. There we go. What is Rainbow Road? That's just a nice joke for Mario Kart. The most difficult road on that game usually is in the air. It's on a rainbow and there's no barriers, so you can fall off. Just a nice, funny joke. School roads, roundabouts. Nice. All right, so country roads are the most dangerous types of road to drive on. And here we have Caitlin Huddleston with a story to help with our perceptions of dangerous roads. So I've got a nice little excerpt here from the article. So Caitlin Huddleston was a front seat passenger in a car driven by her friend who had recently passed her driving test. With another friend in the back seat, they were travelling on country roads to a local restaurant for an evening meal when the newly qualified driver lost control of her car and collided with a van. Neither driver was speeding, but the road was wet. The coroner put the crash down to the inexperience of the new driver. At 18 years old, both Caitlin and the new driver died. The friend at the back and the van driver were severely injured. So this is one of those really tough stories to hear. One of those accidents, one of those collisions that just never needed to happen, did not have to happen. Parents are usually more worried, or young drivers are usually much more scared and worried about motorways and have no clue or are not aware of the dangers of country roads. There are drivers who pass their test and will never go on a motorway because they were never taught and they're so scared of it, but will happily go down a country road and they don't realise what's going on there. So Caitlin's mum Sharon wanted to share her daughter's story. If Caitlin or her mum knew the risks associated with driving on country roads, it could have been the difference, and it still can be the difference right now for you. So if we go on to the next slide, we've got some nice stats and information for you, just for you to get that perception locked in. It's all about knowing. The first step is knowledge and information. You can retain it and you'll be safer on the roads. So the first one here, as a passenger, only travel with drivers with experience that you trust. So that's if you've got a newly qualified driver and you've got a 4-hour drive, you'll be like, I'm not sure we should be letting you drive yet. I need to get more experience, because the driving test gives you a base level knowledge of how to drive. But you've still got lots of stuff to learn that you'll only learn after your test. For the next stat as well, which I think is crazy, 71% of fatal car crashes involving young drivers are on country roads. 71%, which that's such a high number. It's so disproportionately managed. It's unbelievable. It's really great to think about that. Country roads, a lot of people drive on. You'll think because there's not that many cars that you'll be safer. You're not thinking about these things. You can't really see cars around bends. Well, actually, statistically, there's a very high stat we've got to look out for. As a driver, try and gain as much experience on country roads as you can with your instructor and parents. I stand by this. This was amazing. I also asked my instructor to take me out on country roads. Some people can live in the city and never actually maybe learn to drive on country roads, which is crazy to think about, or might have one lesson only. But the more experience you get, the more knowledge you retain, the more you'll get a feel of how country roads are. Country roads are usually a single lane with no barriers in between, but you'll have the national speed limit sign on. So technically, we could all be going 60 miles per hour on this road, which you should really never really do on a country road. There's never really a time when you can, unless it's much more bigger and it's a lot more safer. But it's this sort of information and guidance that you wouldn't really get. So try and get that experience on country roads. The more experience, you'll learn about it more. You'll understand that going slower around these bends is so much safer. So here's the next one for you as well. Road crashes are a much bigger threat to young people than drugs or knife crime. You'll see it on the news about if drugs, knife crime going on. It'll get you scared, get you really like, oh God, and your parents probably are really worried about these sort of things. Rightfully so. Still should be things to be worried about. But you won't be seeing news about, oh, I'll be really scared about driving, or road crashes are one of the biggest threats, if not, I think, the biggest threat to young people between 16 and 25, I think. And it's that having that perception. This is not to scare you, by the way, of the red background and all these scary stats. It's the first step. By knowing you'll be in your car, understanding that information and wanting to be safer because of it. Actually, by knowing this, you will be safer on the roads. It's nice to have that perception and treat yourself, as kindly as you can, as safely as you can, and therefore others on the road as well. Because as you say, the stats show it's a very serious thing that you've got to lock in and stay focused and stay safe. And as I mentioned earlier, even after your test, you never stop learning how to drive. The driving test is to get you a great base standard of how to drive. The government goes, you know what? Yes, we can trust you to be in your car. You can do the base level stuff. Nearly everyone will learn how to drive and pass their tests without ever driving on snow. Think about that. You've passed your driving test. There's your driving license. You drive on snow. You've never done it before. What? But you passed your driving test. It's things like this that there's experience like this. If it's not heavy rainfall, if it's not thunderstorm, like lightning, all this sort of stuff. There's so many different black ice as well. If you're driving black ice, there'll be times where you're hydroplane, which is where you drive on water and all of a sudden your wheel is not touching the floor. And you're like, what is going on? Stuff you don't learn on your lessons, but yet you've got your driving license. So as I say, even after your test, you never stop learning how to drive. It's about keeping safe, driving defensively, treat everyone else on the road as if they're not the best driver. So you protect yourself, and by doing that, you protect others. So next, we have What to Do If You Have a Breakdown or Collision by Leanna from Warwickshire Fire and Rescue. This is very important stuff, guys. So yeah, take it away, Leanna.
Thanks, Keenan. Afternoon, everybody. My name's Leanna Essex. I'm a watch commander with Warwickshire Fire and Rescue Service. Done about 18 years within the service, so I have attended many road traffic collisions in my time as an operational firefighter. So if we can just go on to the next slide, please. So obviously, if you do have a collision, one of the most important things that you must follow is to stay calm. You can make a bad situation a lot worse by panicking. And what I've noticed in my career is when we've arrived to the scene of a collision, 9 times out of 10, people are in shock and they are panicking, and that's just making things completely exasperated as such. So make sure you stay calm, even if you have to take a little bit of a deep breath, gather yourself, but that will help you refocus and think a little bit more sensibly. You've got to make sure you're safe, okay? Make sure that you're not going to be potentially hit by anything, or there's nothing that's going to put you at further risk where you are. And you've got to make sure that everybody around you is okay. So as with anything, life is the most important thing. So make sure you do check to see if anybody's injured. Don't underestimate the effects of shock as well. I've been to many car crashes where nobody's had any like bleeds or anything, but actually they've gone into shock later on in the incident, and they have gone into cardiac arrest. So shock is very, very serious. If you do have a collision, make sure you ask the driver for their details. Okay, so that does include their name, their address, a telephone number, their insurance company, and make sure you take the make, the model of the car, and also the registration number. Okay, that's a really important bit of information to make sure you collect. Now, everybody has mobile phones with them all the time. We live in an environment where we can't live without them. So in this situation, it's actually comes in quite handy, because what you can do is take pictures of the scene. Okay, so that's the impact that the vehicles have actually had on them. Okay, but also the environment around the vehicle. So was it raining, or was it a nice dry road surface? All this information is really important, so that you can pass on to your insurance companies and also the police as well. Take lots of notes as well. You'd be, like I said earlier, you're potentially going to be in shock, so you forget things quite a lot. It takes a lot of training to remember really finite detail when you're in distressful situations. So even the fire service and the police will have a little notepad where they'll take notes to make sure that we've just got all the information that we need. Ensure that you collect all your valuables out your car. Now, when we say valuables, I also mean medications. Okay, we have people that are diabetics in our communities as such, so make sure you do collect all medications as well. Please call your insurers. Okay, now it depends on what the collision, how severe the collision is, whether the police will need to be called, or you're just going to call your insurance company. But you do need to log the actual collision with the police within 24 hours. Okay, that is a requirement. And if you've got dash cam footage, make sure it's available. Okay, as soon as you can, as soon as you've got that time, make sure it's secure and it's in a safe place, because that will help inform your insurance company and also the police if they need to make any further inquiries. Next slide, please.
Hello? Indicators on. At the next junction. Find an emergency zone. Don't forget your phone.
So we've just seen a little short clip about what to do if you break down on the motorway. Now, different roads have different types of markers to make sure that we can locate you that little bit easier. But first things you need to do, if your car is, say, it's starting to slug and you think, oh, it's not got the power, I need to pull over, make sure you use your mirrors to make sure you can actually manoeuvre over safely. Put your indicators on. Again, use your mirrors to make sure there's still a free space and go into the left lane. Get yourself into emergency area or the hard shoulder and put your hazard lights on. Now, even though you're on a hard shoulder, you are still at risk of being hit by other vehicles that are on the motorway. Okay, so it's really, really important that you get your phone and obviously, hopefully you'll have a nice warm coat with you if it's a cold day, and you'll go and stand behind the barrier. Okay, do not stay in your car. It's really, really important that you are as safe as possible. I have been to a number of collisions, and we've actually ended up attending another collision because people have obviously knocked the car that's had already been collided with, because people are really interested in what's going on around them as such, and they want to know what the emergency is, so they're not actually paying full attention. So please make sure you're as safe as possible. Obviously, call National Highways and then a breakdown provider for help. It's really important that you get a really good breakdown cover because you will need it potentially. Next slide, please. So a lot of modern cars nowadays will have what we call an eCall button, and there's two ways that these are normally activated. Normally, the first way would be if your airbags are activated, so it will automatically call the 999 operator, but also you can manually do this as well, and it's normally in above your head in the console, in like where the mirror is, the search, or in the center console. So if we can play the short video, please.
Since April 2018, most new cars and vans have been fitted with an emergency call system known as eCall or SOS. You don't need to have a mobile phone with you for it to work, but you should only press the eCall button if the situation requires the emergency services. You might have a medical emergency, or see someone else needing help. Or you might find yourself with a problem and unable to get out of your car safely. In which case, turn on your hazard warning lights, press the eCall button to call 999 and keep your seatbelts on.
Emergency, which service?
eCall will connect you to a 999 operator and send them details of your current location and the direction you are travelling, along with the time and your vehicle details. This means the time it takes the emergency services to get to you could be cut by as much as 50%, and they'll arrive better prepared. eCall SOS could save your life. Locate the button, know when to use it.
So a lot of people don't actually realise that they have this as a feature in their cars. I would recommend that you do check your manufacturer's guidance and the books that you have with your actual car as well. Next slide, please. So after you've had a collision, it's really, really important to talk about it. It is traumatic, okay? We're only human. And even in the fire service, we see a lot of potentially not very nice things. We talk about our feelings and what we've experienced because it can affect us. So make sure that you do talk to somebody. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to a family or friend, or you feel that you need that little bit of further support, go and see your doctor and they will be able to refer you to an appropriate medical professional. It is always really, really important that we realise that actually sometimes these things happen, but we need to learn from it to make sure it doesn't happen again and that we can just move forward. So try not to dwell on it. We always make mistakes. We are human, but let's learn from them so it doesn't happen again. If you do have a collision, obviously nerves about getting into your car will be very natural. It's really important that you do get back into your vehicle again. Now, when I say that, I would always suggest what I've found in the past is that if you do it on roads that are really familiar to you, with nice, dry, sunny conditions, just to relax you a little bit and get your confidence back up. One thing that isn't covered in the slides, which I did want to mention, is as the emergency services, we obviously spend a lot of time going out to emergencies on the roads, and we really do struggle to find people that are, obviously had car crashes as such. So one app that I would recommend that you do download is an app called What 3 Words. Now it's a locator app, and basically it will be able to tell you 3 words of where exactly you are in the country. It's broken down into every 3-meter grid. You pass that information on to the emergency services or your breakdown company. We will be able to more effectively respond to you. And to be honest, it's not just important for breakdowns or collisions. If you were, I was at a music festival working there as a firefighter, and somebody had a medical incident, and thankfully their friend had the What 3 Words app, and we were able to locate them a lot quicker in thousands of people because we knew exactly where they were within 3 meters. So I do recommend that you do have that app on your phone at all times. And I think that's it. Back over to you, Keenan. Thank you very much, everybody.
Amazing. Thank you, Leanna. And I can attest to that as well. The what 3 words, especially Ali in the chat, what 3 words is so good when it works. It's good for finding friends in the city, at a festival, for emergencies. Download the app. It is very, very good. I'd also like to point out as well, something that I like to put in, I make a lot of road safety TikToks. My bigger thing is there's so much information and a lot of stuff you've learned today, stuff you need to try and retain. If you create a checklist of these certain situations, like how to look after your car, what to do in an emergency, if you create a checklist or find a screenshot online, anything like that, and save it in its specific folder in your photos and your photo app, whatever it is, and just have that as like a keepsake, just in case, in those moments where everything's going, oh my God, what's going on? I've had a collision, or my car's, what's ever going on? You can check your phone. Oh, I've got my car safety folder, anything like that. And you can have all those checklists there just for quick, easy access before, it's tough. Again, the longer you learn this information, the more it will stay in, and it'll be quick and easy access to that knowledge just in your brain. But sometimes we all need a phone. It's like, oh yeah, what is that? Oh, I need to do this. There you go. It is now Q&A time. Thank you so much, everyone. So you've been sending in lots of questions, and I'm now going to start reading some out and pass it on to the panel. So if all presenters, well, actually, I suppose whoever wants to answer can then turn on their camera. So actually, no, let's all come on screen. Let's all come on screen, presenters. Hello, everyone. Any questions as well that you might not have answered or you've just thought about now, please send them in and we shall have a go answering them. So let's see what my first question will be. I've got lots today. Let's go with, can I wear my cap during my driving test so the examiner can see more clearly when I'm looking at my mirrors? It's an interesting question. Who would like to take that?
I think I can take that, Keenan. Good evening, everybody. Graham O'Brien, Assistant Chief Driving Examiner. I've conducted around 10,000 driving tests and heard most questions, and I've not heard this one before. It's quite interesting. The short answer would be you absolutely can wear a baseball cap for your driving test. It's not going to make any difference. So in terms of if you're moving your head quite significantly to show the examiner that you're checking your mirrors, trust me, the examiner will know if you've checked your mirrors or not. You don't need to emphasize that. It's a little bit of a myth that you really need to move your head when you're checking your mirrors. Just do it naturally. And another little tip as well, don't check your mirrors just because you think you need to or you've been told to. Check them when it's necessary. We see so many people on the driving test checking them through what we call rote, through repetition. You should check your mirrors when it's necessary. Okay, hopefully that answers that question.
Brilliant, Graham. Thank you very much. Love that. Okay, next question, if I would like to take it. I get confused by speed limits. How do I know if it's a 20 mile per hour road or a 30 mile per hour road? Who'd like to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that.
Thank you.
So you've got 20 mile an hour roads, and they should have repeaters every few 100 yards or so. The road layout should be quite different with street lighting, so I'm not expecting people to count the street lights, but 30 mile an hour limits, 20 mile an hour limits should have adequate street lighting, but there will be repeaters, so just be observant, just check. And another tip as well, if you are thinking that you are on a road that maybe is above 20 or 30, if you look down a side street, if you're in a national speed limit, for example, and you're on a 60 mile an hour road, if you look down a side street, it should repeat and say 30 at the beginning of the road. So that's always a good tip, if just to check the side streets.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. I've got one here for Ollie, quickly. How much does the Honest Truth cost for ADIs to use, please?
That depends. ADIs in Warwickshire. So if there are any others in Warwickshire that want to sign up, in fact, I've already had one inquiry this evening from an ADI who's on the call. I won't embarrass them. It's completely free. The Warwickshire Road Safety Partnership have very, very kindly provided some funding to enable ADIs in Warwickshire to access the campaign completely free, basically. And there are other areas in the UK. So if you have ADIs from other areas outside Warwickshire, then contact us through the website. We have a number of other areas around that also have funded and half-funded places available as well. But we welcome Warwickshire ADIs. Come and join us, sign up to the Honest Truth and start delivering it to your pupils. Thank you, Keenan.
Sweet. Thank you very much, Ollie. I've got another one here. How can I find insurance? It's not available in my area. I heard that one before. Who would like to take that?
Okay, I can probably take that. Probably need a little bit more context on that, really. Is it a new address? Is it insurance companies use postcodes? It's very piece of information that they use to try and score your insurance, really. It's all around crime stats and things like that. So if you can't find it, is it a new build? ring them up, explain. If you do find an insurance company that you are happy with, just give them a call. There may be another few reasons for that, which I probably can't answer, but it is all around postcodes. All right.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah, interesting question there. Here's another one. Do NCAP ratings apply to both automatic and manual cars? I'm pretty sure I can answer that one. I think that is a yes. I think it stands for all cars that are being made. Doesn't matter if it's automatic, manual, or everything in between, which is just those two. There you go. So yeah, definitely for both. All right, next question. Got lots today. Keep them coming. I think someone asked if we get a certificate at the end of this. I really wish we did, but you get brownie points for it for sure. I know that you get a certificate. Here we go. What would you suggest we have in our cars in case of a breakdown/emergency? Maybe for Leanna, that one.
Yeah, I'll take that, Keenan. That's a really good question. And in the fire service, just like the rest of the emergency services, we always like to be prepared for every eventuality. When I first started driving, my dad actually made me put a box in the back of my car with things like torches, warm blankets, a coat, some water, just in case it did break down and I was stranded for a while. Nowadays, if you go onto like the RAC website, they can give you a full list of what they would recommend. Also, cars do have the hazard warning triangles in their boots. But if you don't, it's always good to purchase one of those. If you do break down, you can let other drivers know that there is a hazard present on the roads. But definitely have a look on websites, and I would suggest getting a box in the boot as well as a first aid kit for every eventuality.
Amazing, thank you, Leanna. Here's a cool one as well. I have an international license and I'm driving already. I've booked the driving test. Is there need to get an instructor before the test?
I can probably take that one, Keenan. There isn't a necessity to do it, but I think it would make sense. We've seen a huge increase in international license holders coming and taking the test, which is a good thing. But quite often, as many experienced drivers, we'd often see fundamental mistakes that could be ironed out with a simple assessment with an ADI. So I think it would be prudent to do that. It's not essential, but I would certainly recommend that. You're going to be spending quite a lot of money on the driving test. You're going to probably be waiting quite a few weeks to book it. It would certainly make sense to have that assessment beforehand to iron out any of those things that might be an issue on the day. So I would definitely recommend that.
Wicked, thank you. I've got one here. Is it true that if you stall, you automatically fail?
I can probably answer
That'll
that
be for you again,
well.
Graham. Yeah.
So I actually stalled on my driving test and I did pass. So the answer to that is no. And I guess it's the circumstances. There's a stall and there's a stall. You could stall at a roundabout. You could start rolling back. The examiner may need to take some action. That potentially could lead to a serious or maybe dangerous fault. If you just stall and there's no there's no actual effect on another road user, then that's absolutely fine. We all stall the car occasionally, so that would be what we call a driving fault. But of course, that could escalate if there's an effect on another road user. But don't worry if you do stall on the test. Try and relax, deep breath, restart the engine, and you'll be absolutely fine. I'd just like to say at this point as well, because there's quite a lot of chat in the chat around the driving test, and there's an awful lot of inaccuracies there. Let me just say this: the examiner wants you to pass. They really do. It's the best part of their job. Turning to you at the end of the test and saying, "I'm really pleased to tell you you've passed." We want you to do that, but we want you to come prepared. That's why the Ready to Pass campaign is really important. There's lots of links in there. Jump on it, take a look. It's going to make you as well prepared as you can. Make our lives easier so we can turn to you at the end of the test and say congratulations.
That was very nice. I like that, Graham. Thank you. I've got one here for Sophie. Is it necessary to still go to a mechanic even if I can repair my car myself?
I would say yes, just to make sure that everything you've done is correct. It's great if you know how to fix your car, but sometimes DIY fixing your car at home can mean that some mistakes can be made, leading to incidents further down the line. For example, we had a customer who replaced his own brakes and didn't bolt the caliper back together properly, so his caliper fell off the rear of his car, meaning his handbrake didn't work. So when he actually tried to pull his handbrake on, his caliper popped off, and it was because he'd done his own work at home. I know it seems like you're kind of saving the cost of going to a garage, but you need to work out what you want to put the price on, whether you put the price on your safety or whether you try and scrimp a bit and not know whether it's done correctly or not.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah, that's tough. I can only imagine what that would have been like. I think I've got one here for Abigail. It says here, what help would people with disabilities such as autism be able to receive when learning to drive?
I might hand it over to Graham, to be honest with you.
Got you? Yeah, sure, by all means.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and we're trying to do more on the driving test to so we can accommodate people's needs. So at the start of the test, for example, if somebody has got a neurodiverse need or whatever it may be, and we can do something to accommodate that, we'll absolutely do that, whether it's repeating the instructions, using hand signals to point which way we're going. When we pull up at the side of the road, just taking that few extra seconds to take a drink of water. Some people actually prefer to be quiet during the test. They don't want the examiner to engage in conversation. That's absolutely fine. The examiner will engage in some conversation if they're asked not to, but they will judge the response in terms of if that person is quite chatty. If they're not, quite clearly they want to concentrate on the task in hand. So we can do things during the driving test. In the learning space, I think it's trying to find somebody, ADIs are experts in what they do. They can accommodate to somebody's needs as well. So it's finding somebody you're comfortable with, and if you're not, then it's it's seeking some advice to find somebody out there. So yeah, that's hopefully what I'd say to that, Keenan.
Amazing, thank you very much. I've got one here, very interesting. These are some good questions. I don't know how to answer this myself. If I am on my international license insurance and I've got my UK license, is my insurance still valid? If anyone's got an answer for that, I presume my first answer would be you got to check your policy. I feel like most likely it won't be. Has anyone got a response to that? If I am on my international... Oh yeah, go for it, David, yeah?
You'd have to have insurance here. It depends which country it is, but you would ordinarily need to get insurance in the UK.
Got you. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, I think we've got time for two more. One, I've noticed a lot of people asking, any tips for driving at night? A lot of people are emphasizing like driving at night. What tips have we got? I got a question asking, can I travel 30 miles per hour in a 20 miles per hour road if it's at night? I can answer that one for you. No, it's a 20 mile per hour road. You have to stick to the speed limits. It doesn't change at night. It's still the same. You still got to be safe for everyone. But yes, any tips on driving at night? I presume, Graham, you'll be on that.
Yeah, I suppose driving at night, and especially, one of the biggest causes of accidents is distractions. So try to limit the amount of people you've got in the car, especially if you're driving at night as well, because that's going to add to that distraction. Take things that little bit slower, allow plenty of time for the journey, so plan that journey in advance. It is harder to see, when you're not used to it. There is opportunity still. We still have a scheme which is called Pass Plus. It's not as popular as it used to be, but that's where you can take extra lessons with an instructor post-test, where you can cover off these elements such as what you mentioned earlier, Keenan, in terms of bad weather driving, nighttime driving, motorway driving. So it's all these experiences that you might not encounter before your test. That it's really important that you respect and take time and care when you're dealing with it post-test.
Amazing, thank you very much. And I think the final question for tonight, picked around one, here we go. I think it'll be for Sophie. I recently got a used car. The dealer mentioned that they serviced it recently. Do I need to get it checked again to be absolutely sure? Or should I just go ahead and get it serviced 1 year later?
So the best way to check it's been serviced is that it should have a service book which should be kept in the glove box. Now they should have stamped it and they should have noted down which filters they've changed, which oil they've changed, how much oil they've put on it, and so forth. If you aren't sure, the best, depending on how long ago you bought it and when they're supposed to have serviced it, if you do an oil check on your car, you remove the dipstick and you check the oil. If the oil is very black and almost seems like it's really dirty, then I would say they've not serviced it. If you take the dipstick out and the oil looks sort of dark, but also looks a little bit sort of see-through at the same time, more than likely means that it has been serviced. But if I was you, I would maybe go ahead, depending on what mileage you've done, and have just an oil and filter change just as it is. It's always good to have them done sort of every sort of 6,000 to 8,000 miles, just to make sure you keep your engine happy and make sure that, you know, everything is moving, everything's lubricated, and you don't have a seized engine.
Wicked. Thank you very much, Sophie. I love that. All right. That's it for questions now. Thank you so much. everyone, for all the presenters today and all the talks, the experts. I've learned a lot. I've actually learned a lot as well. I'm writing notes. Oh, that's really cool. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think there's a final slide. There's a nice little thank you. I'd like to shout out to there's some really funny people in the chat. I've been really enjoying your answers and questions. You've been helping each other out. So thank you for that. But I believe there's a final slide somewhere, which I cannot see at the moment. Oh, nice. We're all saying thank yous and goodbyes. Thank you all. Yeah, appreciate that. Oh, here we go. It's coming up. Any second now. Here we go. Wow, 81. Weird notes. There we go. Thanks for watching, everyone. So this was a nice webinar to be together on your learning to drive journey. Even when you pass your test, you'll still be on that journey. You'll still be learning to drive. There's so much information, so many tips online. We've just given you lots as well. We really appreciate you coming today. By watching this webinar, you're already miles ahead of other people that didn't watch it. There's so many, it's very cool. It's very important to keep this knowledge, retain it, and, just keep it in there. It's safe. At the end of the day, a lot of this knowledge you won't have to use, hopefully, ever, because you'll be so safe. You won't get in an accident. You won't get in a collision, but it's nice to know the information there. It's really good and important to know how to look after your car. Oh, we've got a nice little poll at the end. Would you attend future webinars? It's all right. You can answer truthfully, but I will be a bit upset if you say no, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to submit yes to put it up. I will. Of course I would. Nice, 100%. Love it. Thank you, guys. Yes, definitely. Thanks for that. Fatima as well. Yeah, you've been really fun in the chat. Lovely stuff. There you go, guys. We've got lots of magazines. The slides will be shared just to confirm. This has been recorded as well. So you'll get a video hopefully sent out to you. I don't know how that'll work. It might be left in the chat. But you won't get a certificate. Just to point out, got it for you. You can have a certificate in our hearts. Certificate for being the safest drivers ever. Thank you very much to Warwick. Thank you very much to all the other presenters. And yeah, we're now all safer on the roads.